3, 2, 1. Capture 5 mega rockets to win.
Howdy do to all of you once again. It is Emmett Watkins Jr., also known as EJ Spun61, in all places on the internet, and I'm here once again to talk about another movie. Strangely enough, today we're going to be talking about Portrait of a Lady on Fire. Hopefully this will be a shorter video. We'll see. I actually gotta run and go do something, so we'll see if I run out of things to talk about before I go do that thing, or if I'll cut around it. So we'll find out later. But yeah, we're talking about Portrait of a Lady on Fire today. Just got done watching the movie last night. I really did enjoy it, so I felt moved enough to go ahead and make a video about it. I'll go ahead and say real quick also, I believe is my window open? Actually, let me check. No, my window is not open. It's just that loud outside. It's not even raining or anything. It's just the sounds of nature themselves are particularly strong this morning, or I guess this afternoon now. So yeah, we're just gonna go keep it rolling. I doubt it's gonna be heard too much. But yeah, and also another thing, I don't know how timely this video will be by the time that I've seen this movie, because as I'm speaking to you now, I am recording this on my my Surface laptop. My main computer, my main PC, doesn't want to boot to Windows right now for some reason, and I will be fixing that hopefully today. If not, then this video is going to take a long time to come out. But I just really wanted to get my thoughts down about this movie, because I enjoyed it, but it also gave me a lot to think about. So when a movie gives me a lot to think about, I like to think about it openly on one of these videos. So let's go ahead and get into it. So Portrait of a Lady on Fire. What did I think about it overall? Overall, like I said, I enjoyed it. I actually had a little bit of a Twitter thread here that I put out last night once I saw the film. It's a very slow film. It's a very, when I say slow, it's not that nothing happens in the movie. It's more so that what does happen isn't really a big deal in and of itself. Like, it's a very personal story, very intimate film, very intimate story as well. And plot wise, there isn't much that happens in the movie. I mean, if you want to just take the plot, it's girl comes to paint girl, girl falls in love with girl, and girls can't be together. That's pretty much the whole plot. You could sum it up very quickly, but what this movie is so strong for is the subtlety in expressing those plot points, because it isn't about, you know, this overarching list of events. It's about very simple events that are easy to understand, but just how they're portrayed is what I find so special about this movie. And the fact that the performances were very strong, and this is when I need to go ahead and have the IMDb for this up, because I do not want to, because this is a French film, by the way. This is a foreign film. Everyone's speaking in French, and I do not want to say anybody's name wrong. Well, I probably will. I've taken some French classes, but I did not do particularly well in them. So let's see. Noémie Merlant and Adèle Hansel. Okay, we'll go with that. Also, apologies, my phone just went off in the background.
Sorry, I don't understand.
My Google just went off as well. Stop. Okay, it's over. Sorry about that. I'll probably keep that in. That was funny for me. So yeah, those two actresses, they play the leads of Marlene and Heloise. Heloise. I don't know how to say her name. She has a lot of accents in her name for that character. But those are the two leads, and they really take this movie and make it theirs. It is magnetic. Just seeing their affection for each other grow very subtly. It was subtle to the point where I actually talked about this in the Twitter thread I had mentioned earlier. It was a relationship I didn't really notice was forming until about a quarter of the way through the movie, where they kind of remind you, hey, they've been paying attention to each other. This isn't just a one-sided thing. And yeah, overall the movie's just great. Because I want to get into spoilers now, so I want to go ahead and give a general opinion of the film right here. Overall, I thought the movie was great. I thought it was very, it's a very soft film. Soft is a word I keep wanting to use on this movie, and I don't mean that in a derogatory or maybe even stereotypically feminine way. It's just a very, it's just a film that likes to linger. It's a film that doesn't have too many hard edges, and I feared that there were going to be some hard edges in the film, but thankfully they were a little bit more reserved about that stuff, because I was very concerned about it, and this movie definitely could have had a different tone if they leaned harder into that type of stuff. But yeah, overall, I thought it was just great. If you like love stories, this is a great one. Now, it isn't, I did watch this because I was having a really bad day yesterday and I just wanted to feel some joy. And someone told me that this film wasn't necessarily going to be the happiest movie in the world, and it's not, but it's not filled with despair. The ending is bittersweet, but it still is sweet. So I enjoyed it for that. And yeah, it's just a really soft, sweet romantic film. I think it's worth watching if you're into stuff like that. Understanding it's going to take its damn time. It's a 2-hour long film, and at times it can seem like scenes are going on and nothing of importance is happening. But that's kind of the point. The point is to linger in everything. The point is to just sit in it and to let it absorb into you. And I'm glad I did. So yeah, go ahead and watch it. But if you've already seen it, then you can stay here for some spoiler-filled discussion. So yeah, spoiler-wise, the ending, I mean, of course, I wish they could just be together. Like, just long story short, I wish these two could be together forever and ever, and have their little gay family and all that stuff, and that would have been great. But the thing that fucked me up is that it's not just, hey, all right, let's make sure I get the names right again. Let's see. It's not just Marlene or Marianne. Let's say Marianne. I'm going to say Marianne. I know I'm going to Americanize her name, but Marianne and Heloise. We're going to say Heloise because it sounds like Alloy from Horizon Zero Dawn, and I can say that easily. So Heloise, she, has her arranged marriage and everything, and she has to go away. And then Marianne, at least, they don't forget each other. Despite them not being able to be together the whole time, they don't forget each other. That's what I really appreciated, and how the movie ended with just the slow zoom in on Heloise, with the slow zoom in on her face at the opera. Or not at the opera, what is it? The orchestra, where she's seeing the orchestra for the first time and she's having such visceral emotion to it. And it's reminding her of Marianne and all of the deep emotions they felt together. That was such a beautiful way to end that film, and I thought that was so effective, and I damn near cried myself because I was like, wow, they will always love each other, and this is not something that's going to leave their hearts easily. And so I thought that was just really, really sweet in a slightly sad but still emotionally effective way. And also the painting right before that orchestra scene, because I actually saw a clip or something about that painting I had seen already, and just knowing what I knew about the movie, because I knew it was gonna have some gay shit in there, because that's the type of people that I saw talking about it on Twitter. All the gays were talking about it, so I'm like, okay, there's gonna be some gay shit in here, and that's totally fine. So I was just wondering, so I saw that painting referenced on Twitter a long time ago with her finger in the page, and I legit thought that was just a reference to a vagina, like the book pages being just that hint that yo, I still remember you, girl. That's what I thought it was before I had seen the movie, and now that I've seen the film, the fact that page number was page 28, and that's the page where that self-portrait of her was drawn, that was so much more emotionally resonant. And that's a case in which, and this is something I complain about a lot in games specifically, but it happens with me in some movies too. Sometimes just from the discourse on the internet, I find out a lot about a game or a movie or just a TV show, anything. I found out a lot about it before I even watch it. So then by the time I watch it, I already have preconceived notions. I already think I know what's going to happen. I already think I know what certain things are going to mean. And a lot of times that leads to certain scenes not having the most impact on me as they can. And this is one of those cases where me misunderstanding that scenario made the impact of what that actually meant in the film even stronger. So I really, really did appreciate that, and I thought that was really cool. And so yeah, I really like that part. It's just really, I wish I got to see when the actual portrait of the lady on fire was painted, because I totally thought they were building to that at some point. I thought they were both going to paint that together in like one of their last nights together. That ended up not being the case, but I was waiting for that type of moment, and it never eventually came, but it's all good. It's all good. I really appreciated once they I'm kind of torn, because this movie is about longing, specifically gay longing, which I know is like a trope and everything. But longing is a thing that I kind of vibe with, because I do a lot of, I don't know how to phrase this well, but I'll just say it how I think I mean it. I have also partaken in a lot of glancing and catching side looks and everything, and and it's not necessarily in this film. They kind of portray that as like, oh, getting a glance at the forbidden fruit, like the lover that you shouldn't be with but want to anyway. From my perspective, it's less of a, oh, I shouldn't do it, or it's less of a, oh, they're taken, and it's more of a, oh, I don't know if they're even into me, so I don't want to cross a boundary, so that's why you sneak a look at their face or whatever and all that stuff. Like, especially like the younger version of me did a lot of that shit, and a lot of those feelings haven't quite left my body fully, so there was just enough left there to where I could definitely relate to a lot of that stuff. And just like the side eye across the classroom, and you're like, oh, she's looking, blah blah blah, like, how that works. And I really liked how they kind of made that the core gameplay loop, which is that's how I phrased it on Twitter. But when I say that, the fact that she's brought in to paint her, and she's not gonna pose for her, so she has to just go out on these walks and just hang out and talk to this girl just in regular days, and she has to paint her by memory. I think that was such a clever way to give context to all of these glances and all of these looks, because at first it's in the context of trying to study her face, trying to study all these parts of her body so that the painting can come out well. And so you don't really think much of it when she's like looking around at her all the time. And so I really love how they did that, because it made it seem like a more clinical thing. It didn't, because that's totally a trope in these romantic films where, oh, he's looking, oh, that means they like her, blah 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 blah, and you would think that's always a thing, but they just contextualize that in such a brilliant way here, to where once their love eventually does come around, it just feels like you can't see it. Like, me knowing what I knew about the movie, I knew it was coming, but it kind of, if this was your first time seeing a movie like this, it definitely wouldn't have been as obvious as in other films. So I really like how they canonized that. And I really liked how once I guess Helene, I keep calling her Helene because it sounds like mayonnaise, but it's whatever. Once she gets comfortable enough with the painter to, finally pose for her and all that stuff, and then their relationship starts picking up pretty aggressively. I like that part as well, where especially I appreciate the restraint in this film, because I was wondering, because this film is rated R, and I was wondering, why would this film be rated R? I was a little bit concerned when I said earlier I was concerned about this movie crossing some boundaries. I guess you can call her the servant, or I'm just gonna call her the servant. There's a servant character. She discovers that she's pregnant. She's missed her last few periods, and so parts of the movie are her trying to get this baby out of her. And so they're just trying to, try all these home remedies, just exhaust her, get her to drink all these different plants and stuff. Nothing works. So eventually they go to this old woman who will straight up just give her an abortion. And I guess this is like before the 19th century, or I guess that's the 18th century, at the end of the 18th century, in the 1800s. In the 1800s, all this is going on. And so I guess the old lady just goes in with her arm, and I guess just squirrels it around in there so that it comes out later. I don't exactly know the context of it, but it was just, I totally thought this movie was going to earn its R rating in that scene, because I thought they were going to show not all of it, but I did fear that they were going to like show a bloody arm coming out from behind her legs and all that stuff. Like I feared they were going to show just a little bit more than I was ready to see, especially for a movie that wasn't hyper violent or anything at all. There's one major death that happens in the film, and it happens off screen before the film starts. So I was really concerned that it was gonna go there, but turns out it just earns that R rating just for nudity. So that's the only thing to worry about here. Tastefully done nudity. None, and that's the thing. When I say restraint, none of the nudity felt gratuitous, which I really appreciated. It did feel a little. It felt a little weird at the beginning of the film, because the main character, the painter, she's just sitting there. Because she had to hop into the water at the beginning of the film to go save her canvases and stuff. So when she finally gets to her location, she takes off her dress and everything and is just sitting by the fire, butt ass naked, smoking tobacco. And I didn't know if that scene had a purpose, but I also don't know if it needed to have a purpose, because it is like shooting these olden times where people are much less shy about, especially in a room by herself. She can do whatever she wants. I guess it just felt weird because I'm watching it, and especially me as someone, as a cis male, I do not want to I do not want to look at these women as objects of desire, because it's not about that. This isn't for male consumption in the first place, and also these are lesbian women, so it's like that's not even happening. So it's not a good idea to even entertain that thought. But that scene felt weird for me at first, but then as the movie went on, I was like, okay, that's just them in life. And plus, I know the stereotype of French people have less reservations about letting it all hang out and all that stuff. So that's another thing as well that I thought was just interesting. And like I said, the reservedness, even in the sex scenes, a lot of the sex scenes would just happen and they would wake up the next morning, or they're just lying around. And some of the stuff with sex was tastefully done. I really did like when the painter's drawing her self-portrait for Helene. I'm just going to call her Helene, sorry. For Helene, oh God, what is this? Okay, we're good. For Helene's to take with her after they depart, the mirror is resting right above her vagina. And I thought that was kind of a clever way to not only censor it in a tasteful way, but to also show that, I don't know, it felt like symbolic somehow, like her face being there in the mirror and just being like, okay, this is like a very intimate spot. And the fact that she's on the intimate spot just felt like they had a closer connection. I don't know, maybe I'm digging too much into that, but that kind of felt poetic in a way to me. And so, yeah, throughout the whole film, it was, oh my God, I'm getting so many notifications. Perhaps I should have turned everything off. But yeah, throughout the film, it was just it just felt like a temporary hug, like a hug from a person that you knew couldn't stay long and that you probably won't ever see again, but enjoyed while they were there. And one other thing I'll say, in the campfire scene when they're with all the other wives and things like that, when they started singing, God, that was the scariest part of the movie. I thought something horrible was going to happen. Perhaps it's because I just saw Hereditary not too long ago, and I'm planning on watching Midsummer tonight, so pray for me on that one, because I don't do well with horror. Yeah, perhaps it's just because of those things in my mind right now. I thought something bad was going to happen when all these women started chanting, and then it just became a nice little folk song, and everyone singing and cheering and stuff. I got really scared. So, yeah, I was just concerned with that. There's nothing like, I didn't really read that scene too much into the context of the entire film, but I was just really freaked out by that for a minute and thought it was worth noticing. And also, what is the young lady's name? When Helene set herself on fire, I don't think she did it on purpose. I think it was sheer accident, just because she's caught up in the intoxication of the painter. That was also, I didn't quite understand the context of that scene. I did think that was a very engaging way to show that something in the relationship had switched, because if you notice right after that, they start making out in private, of course, in the quietness of the rocks and everything. But it was just very different, very interesting, and always engaging. That's the thing about this movie. For as slow paced as it is, for as quiet as it is, it remained engaging throughout. And this is the type of movie where I think I saw Amadeus in class years and years ago. And I didn't hate the film, but I resented that film because it was so slow, so obtuse to me that it just felt like it was impenetrable to be appreciated. Like it was holding up so many barriers that it was hard to love that movie for what it was. But ultimately, though I don't have a verdict on Amadeus, I don't know if I'll ever watch that movie again. This film seemed like it was similarly holding up barriers, but they were much more easy to break down. Maybe it's just because I've matured over the years. Maybe it's because, that longing is something that I can somewhat relate to in certain ways. But overall, I found the film very engaging despite all of those barriers that more not traditional, more mainstream films break through very easily. This one kind of made you look into it a little bit more. Oh, and before I end this, I also wanted to give a shout out to the ghostly figure of Hellenes in the hallways and everything. That ghostly figure was so weird. I totally thought that was like foreshadowing her death. Like I thought she was gonna jump off the cliff once their love couldn't be. I thought something terrible was gonna happen to her. It turns out that was just foreshadowing Helene's wedding gown, and that in and of itself was a bit of a death as well, because that was the death of their lesbian relationship. And I really thought that was so well done, because I totally thought it was going to be death. And then when I saw her in the wedding gown at the end, I was like, fuck, it is a death of their love. And I was so like, wow. Out of all the parts, I almost cried at that orchestra scene. I almost cried right there too, when I finally got what that was foreshadowing towards and what that metaphor was for. Overall the movie was great. It's not like a crowd pleaser. There wasn't much in this movie that I was like, yes, standing up, like applauding. This movie was just like very, like once I got to the end of it and I thought back to it, it was one of those where I was like, all right, as soon as it ended, I was like, all right, this is pretty good. But then the more I thought about it, the more I mulled it over, I was like, yo, this is like really, really, really solid. So overall, I'm glad that I watched it. I'll be sure to check out some other films that I've been missing out on. Not just, films of the romantic ilk. God, my laptop here keeps falling asleep, so I keep having to press buttons. Apologies. There's other movies that I gotta catch up on. Bonjoku, or hopefully I'm saying his name right. Mother is a film that he made a couple years ago. I saw that was on Hulu. There's some other ones. I wanted to watch Annihilation, but it wasn't on Netflix. But in any case, I'm going to be watching more movies. It's been a long time since I've been watching movies like this. I said it on Twitter. I hadn't seen a movie since May, just for whatever reason. May was the last time I had watched the movie, and the last movie I had watched was We Need to Talk About Kevin, and that movie was a hell of a downer. So I'm glad to be back to watching films again, back to having deeper thoughts about art than just, hey, are the headshots good in this game? How's the gameplay mechanics? Something a little bit deeper on like a literary criticism level. I really like engaging with art in this way, so I'm looking forward to doing it some more. Hopefully this video will come out in a reasonable amount of time. If it doesn't, apologies, technical difficulties. Like I said, this computer's still busted. And if it does, hope you enjoyed it. So that's pretty much it for me. I don't know if this video will go strictly on my YouTube channel. I might make a review for VGU.tv. If that's the case, then this video will accompany that review. So if not, then please go to VGU.tv. That's where I do a lot of my extracurricular work there. We make podcasts there, some articles I write there. I do a lot of stuff there, and I'm planning on finishing up Keeping It 100 in the coming months as well. So, which is my top 100 games countdown video listing. So be on the lookout for that. And follow me at EJSponge61 on all places on the internet for everything else I'm doing. But that's it for me. Don't even know what gameplay I'm putting with this audio, but hopefully it's been fun to watch. And I'm gonna dip out of here. Thank y'all for watching. This has been Emmett Watkins Jr., also known as EJSponge61 on all places on the internet. And I'll see you next time. Adios, y'all. Oh yeah, keep it real, keep it true. That's the thing I say usually. All right, bye-bye.